What up, you bunch of book dweebs? So, welcome back to another YouTube video. I have something in my mouth, probably a cat hair. That's probably being a cat dad. I just want to jump on and talk to you in a more chilled kind of sit down, I've got my iPad with some notes on sort of video about the expectations of readers. Now, in short, if you're somebody that just watches booktube videos or BookTok videos or Bookstagram videos, and all you do is you watch them and you carry on, you don't really take opinions in and you just read whatever you want, then you can probably switch off now, because this isn't for you. This is for those of you that feel that kind of gnawing need or requirement almost to read books that you see on social media that are doing well, that are popular, that have pretty covers, that your favorite book person is recommending. Essentially, in short, don't worry about it so much. Now, I know it's easy to say don't worry about it so much because you don't need to, but I'm going to give you some reasons as to why you shouldn't worry about it and some scenarios where if a situation arose where you may need to worry about it, how you might be able to counteract that. What I'm talking about is when you're on social media, you might be on, as I said, TikTok or BookTube or Bookstagram or anywhere like that, and your favorite person that always recommends you books has recommended a book. And then you scroll down a little bit and you see someone else recommend this book, and you scroll down a bit more and you see someone else recommend this book, and you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it on Twitter, you're seeing it on Instagram, you're even seeing it on your Threads and your Blue Sky and all these obscure platforms. You think, okay, this is a book I need to read now. You don't. If it's in your genre, if it's something you know you'll like, if you think it's something that is like something you've liked before, go for it. Absolutely enjoy it. But you don't feel like you need to necessarily read it. What I'm talking about is if it's something that you know you don't like. So I, for example, know I don't like romance. Really struggle with it. I think The One Day by David Nicholson and White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky are the only two romance books I really liked. There was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover as well, quite a while ago, so maybe that counts. However, a lot of romance I've read since then was very weak. A lot of it is romantasy, which is where it's essentially a romance set in a fantasy book, but often therefore neither are that strong because the romance isn't that strong, because how romantic can you be when you're in a castle and you're forced to go live with some creature you've never heard of before or anything like that. But at the same time, it's weakened by the fact that you are in a fantasy setting, and then the fantasy setting isn't great either because they're trying to focus on these characters, these stories. Therefore, if I wasn't a booktuber, if I wasn't somebody on social media who's essentially, it's not my job and I get paid to do this, but essentially who was on here and has continuously built up a following of people that trust their reviews, I wouldn't read those sort of books. Your Fourth Wing, your ACOTAR, I probably wouldn't read them because I would think, what's the point? I didn't enjoy similar books, why would I start them? I do because I'm a book person, because as I said, I have over 10,000, 11,000 people now across my different channels who follow me to see my opinions on books, and that's solely why they follow me. So it's part of my kind of, I don't know, the onus is on me then to make sure that I'm giving them the content they want, and that's fine. And I have no problems with it. I'm absolutely fine with it. I don't mind reading books that aren't great because I read 8-9 books a month. So I end up reading some fantastic books at the same time that I absolutely adore. So I don't miss out essentially on time where I could have been reading a book that was better by reading a book that I think other people want to hear my opinion on. TikTok and social media present us with a lot of these books. And I say TikTok a lot because BookTok is becoming the phrase that people are referring to. I think it was Bookstagram at one point, BookTube at one point, but BookTok is where a lot of people are getting their reading content from. They present us with a lot of options. You've got Powerless at the moment, you've got ACOTAR, you've got some other book recommendations that are coming through. And these are books that come with great front covers. These are books that come with people shouting at you on the video about how fantastic they are and about how they've got these unbelievable plot moments and these twists and this interaction and this male in it who's so incredibly dark and brooding and sexy. And it builds you up into this hype where you think, oh, I know I won't like it, but I'm so determined to read it because other people have said it's great and it might change my opinion. If you are sitting there and you haven't yet bought one of these books, and you're sitting there and you've got a book that you know you're going to enjoy because it's ticked every box that you've read, of books you've read before that you've enjoyed, read that one. Just read that. Sit down and enjoy it. Don't worry. At the end of the day, we read to feel comfortable. We read because it takes us away from a place where maybe we don't want to be here right now, we want to be there. We don't want to be sat in this room that has nothing going on, no stimulants, we want to be in this world, and that's why we read. We want to read about things that we'd never experienced in our own lives, about journeys, about people, about places, about cultures, about experiences that we would never in our lives experience. And that is why we read. So remember that when you go into reading. What you've also got to remember is sometimes the most hyped books aren't always the best books. In fact, a lot of the time, what happens is books are overhyped because one big influential social media person will say, love this for this reason. Then a lot of people will start reading it and they'll start posting their videos about it, and then it gets hyped. And because the person they look up to has said it's fantastic, they feel a compulsion to then go and read it as well and rate it well. My reviews, every time I've reviewed a book, I have, if I've not enjoyed it, made sure that I've been honest about it. And that has had backlash in the past, not too much. I think Book Sphere, the kind of book social media space, is one of the nicest places where you give an opinion and people give back feedback. I think people are more inclined to agree with you than disagree with you in those sort of fields. There will be some that disagree with you, depends how big you are, depends what circles you find yourself in, depends the way that you word it. And I think that's a big thing as well. If you are somebody who is like me, does review books because you know people want to see your opinions on them, the way that you word things, you have to be careful with it. And I'm not saying word it to make it all sound great and make it all sound like you did enjoy it when you didn't. I'm saying word it in a way that doesn't sound factual. Never, when you give an opinion, is your opinion on that book a fact. Yes, some books are universally praised. Some books everybody you talk to say is fantastic, and some books everybody you talk to say is poor, and that's absolutely fine. However, what you're saying is not fact, because there will be plenty of people out there that thought this fantastic book was bang average, that thought that this awful book was exactly what they needed at that time in their life. And I think that's something we all need to remember when reading as well. So then that kind of leads me on to, if you are somebody that has to give an opinion on a book, say you're in a social situation and somebody says Fourth Wing was amazing, you must read it. But you read ACOTAR or you read some other romancy book and you thought, no, I didn't enjoy that genre. I don't like how there's not a lot of fantasy in them, there's a lot of character development, or there's a lot of characters speaking and that's not what I'm into. In my personal opinion, your Fourth Wings, your Iron Flames, your ACOTARs, they're the kind of genres I'm giving because that's probably the most popular example of a book where it's not for me. Those sort of books, as I said, aren't for me. I will continue to read books in those genres because that's kind of my role as a social media book person, but you don't have to. So if you're in a situation where somebody says it's fantastic, you must read it, you can simply say, I've read things similar and I did enjoy them, so I think I'm going to give that one a pass. If that person then says, oh no, this is so much better than insert X that you said you tried and wasn't very good, maybe give it a go. Maybe have a look into it. Maybe there's somebody that you know online that every time they rate a book well or they rate it poorly, you agree that that book is good or that it's poor. I might be that person. I'll always be honest with my reviews. I've never fluffed up a review to make sure that I got a kind of good reception from it. I am brutally honest about the way that I give my opinions, and what I make sure to do is to tag the author when I give a positive opinion and to not tag them when I give a negative opinion. That's also crucial because at the end of the day, authors know their books are going to get some bad reviews. But an author sitting in their desk in their office at the time, might be writing a new book, and they receive a tweet from somebody saying their other book was fantastic, means they're going to continue doing something that they love, and you're spreading positivity, you're spreading joy, you're encouraging somebody to do something that they're passionate about, and that is worth 1,000 times more than them reading your tweet and you saying, I hated it, it was awful, I'm not quite sure why everyone loves this book so much. It's just not necessary. If they want to hear negative things about their book, they can search those out. It's like on the street, if you walk past somebody and they didn't look the way that you would like somebody to look, they had a hair colour you didn't approve of, to actively stand out and say, I don't like your hair colour to a stranger, is such a detrimental thing to do to somebody, as opposed to if you did like their hair colour, you say you do. It's just spread kindness. So many people need kindness these days. You don't need this negativity, and that's a big part of the bookish sphere, is don't feel pressured to say negative things about something because you didn't like it. Don't feel pressured because everybody's saying very, very positive things about it to go and read it either. As I said at the start, if you like a genre, stick within that genre. If you don't like another genre, don't feel like you need to read it. We do have this cultural problem a lot at the moment. I think it's getting better. I think the next generation of social media influencers are nicer, weirdly. than the previous generation. We have this kind of, I don't know, late 20s audience or maybe mid 20s that were particularly opinionated. I think the younger audience are a little bit nicer. I think the older audience were nicer, just a bit more mature with their opinions. I think the younger people are understanding more how it affects people when you give opinions that are negative or poor. Reading is subjective. I can read a book that I absolutely love and then I can go and pass it on to my partner who says, yeah, it's fine. I don't get why you loved it so much. It wasn't for me. It was boring. And that's absolutely fine. I will go and people will ask me what's your favourite book and I'll say, this is my ex-favourite book. And they'll say, oh, I read that. I didn't think it was great. And that's absolutely fine. And yes, the more times people say to you, they didn't like a book or they did like a book, it creates this natural barrier where you can learn to take criticism. You can learn to hear different opinions to your own. Famous social media influencers, famous authors, famous booktubers, these sort of people will all have received negative feedback. They'll have all received negative comments because there's some people out there that just like doing it. There's some people that see online social media as an anonymous opportunity to get out the nastiness inside them. And that's all I think sometimes if I ever get any negative responses is, this person's probably not that nasty. They've probably had a crap day. They've probably had somebody else say something nasty to them recently, or they've just found somebody they've never heard of before and something about what they've said, something about the way they've said it, something about the way they've written it has bugged them, and so they felt like they needed to give their opinion. 99% of the time, if people give me a negative opinion online, I'll say fair enough, and it stops. I don't go back and I don't kind of counteract them. I don't say you're wrong, because they're not. It's an opinion. They're allowed to have it wrong. If what they say to me is just negative, I'm an idiot, something like that, I say fine, thanks, brilliant. Because at the end of the day, one of the best feelings in the world when people give you kind of these strong feelings or strong opinions or negative opinions is to rise above it and not feed it. Because as soon as you feed it, you also look like quite an angry person, and you're not. At the end of the day, you're just there giving an opinion on a book. So my general moral of the story is read what you want to read. Enjoy reading. Sit where you want to read. Lie where you want to read. Stand where you want to read. Kindle if you want to Kindle. Paperback if you want to paperback. Audiobook if you want to audiobook. At the end of the day, reading should be enjoyable. Talking about books should be enjoyable. Enjoy reading. So that's the kind of message I wanted to get across. I hope you've enjoyed this more cinematic mode. So this is cinematic mode on the iPhone. This is going to be a bitch to export on CapCut, which is what I use because it's free. And that's going to be fun. But other than that, let me know your opinions on reading. If you're here and you subscribe to my channel, you probably like reading, because at the end of the day, why would you be here? I've just realised how shiny my forehead's been this whole video, so I do apologise if you can see the rest of the world off the runway that is my forehead. But either way, thank you for watching. Always comment, always subscribe. If you're not yet subscribed, subscribing is one of the best things you can do for a YouTuber because it gets them places. Liking their video, watching their video, sharing their video, all of these kind of interaction engagements is the best thing. So if you like what you've just heard from me, if you like my face, if you like my fleece, please do any of those things. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.